Hello, this is Mr. Stansbury. I'm going to take you through the 10E assignment. All right, so we'll start here with number 1. The figure alongside is a cube with sides of length 12 centimeters. So that means every side you see on here is 12. Find EG, so find out what this is here. So what's going to really make this a lot simpler is if you can start to picture this 3D shape, try to trim it down into a 2D shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to redraw E, H, and G. So if I redraw E, H, G, if I take this cube and flip it down, lay it on its front, so D, C, H, and G are all laying flat on the ground, then I would have E up here at the top. H is going to be directly below it there, and then G goes straight across over to here. And then here's that diagonal EG right here. Okay, so we know that all these sides here are 12. So we know that this is 12, that's a right angle, and this is 12. So what we're doing is trying to figure out what that is here, the EG. So best way to find that is just going to be a squared plus b squared equals c squared, because you have a right triangle, right? So let's do the important part is we know that the c is the unknown up here, so we'll do 12 squared plus 12 squared equals, in this case, x squared. So that's 144 plus 144 is x squared, so that's 288 equals x squared, so we can just square root both of those and figure out what that is. All right, so we're going to do the square root of 288, and that gives us 16.97. So let's go that x equals, if we round it to the nearest tenth, 17.0, so what is it, centimeters? Okay, so that's what our x is, so really that's what EG is. EG is 17.0 centimeters. Now we want to find angle AGE. Okay, so then let's redraw the triangle AGE then, right? So here's A at the top, here's E at the bottom. We know that from A to E is 12. Let's see, over here we'll call that G, and then we're going to draw this line here, G back to A. So from E to G we just found that's 17.0. And now we just want to find the angle AGE. So starting at A, going to G, and then back to E. So this is the angle we want to find. Okay? So if that's the angle we want to find, this here is the opposite. This is the adjacent. So we would just want to say, let's see, opposite and adjacent is tangent. So we would say tangent of theta equals opposite, which is 12, over adjacent, which is 17. So now we can plug that into our calculator and figure out what that is. So we're looking for an angle, so second tangent 12 divided by 17 gives us 35.2 degrees. Okay, so that's what angle AGE is going to be, 35.2 degrees. All right, let's move on to the next one. Number 2, figure alongside is a rectangular prism with dimensions as shown. So rectangular prism means we know all these right angles, all these square angles here are all right angles, and we know that all the sides, these straight sides here are all going to be parallel to each other. Okay, X and Y are the midpoints of the edges V, WV and VU respectively. Find the length of T to X. So we're trying to find from here to here. So again, I'm going to redraw this thing so that I'm just dealing with 2 dimensions instead of 3 dimensions. So for A, I'm going to redraw this. So I'm going to put T up here at the top. Straight down to that is W. And then over from that is going to be X. And then what it's asking us to find is, what is this length right here from T to X, right? All right, this length right here, TW, is the same as this VU, which is 8. And if this cuts this exactly in half, half of 12 is going to be 6. So this is going to be 6. That's a right angle. So if we're looking for this one right here, we're going to want to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? So we've got, let's go 8 squared plus 6 squared equals, in this point here, question mark squared, right? So that's what we're looking for. That's the hypotenuse because it's across from the right angle. So that's going to be 64 plus 36 equals our question mark squared. You add those together, that's 100 equals the question mark squared. We square root both of those and we get that the unknown side is plus or minus 10. But since we know it's a distance, we're going to just stick with 10 centimeters because it can't be a negative distance. Okay, so Tx is going to equal 10 centimeters. Okay, B, angle TXP back up here. So again, I'm going to redraw this so that we can visualize this a little bit better. So let's start with P up here at the top, goes down to T, right? So there's P to T, and then it goes over to X, okay, which we just figured out that from T to X is 10 centimeters, so we know that this is 10. From P down to T is 6 centimeters, and we know that this right here, since it's sitting flat like that, that has to be a right angle. Okay, so we're looking for angle TXP, so this is the angle we're looking for. Okay, so from this angle, this is the opposite, this is the adjacent. Right, so we'll do opposite and adjacent is tangent, so we do tangent theta equals 6 over 10. Okay, so we do second tangent 6 divided by 10 hit equals, and we get 30.96, so we'll call theta equals 31.0 degrees. So that's what B is, 31.0 degrees, angle TXP. Okay. C, we're going to figure out what T to Y is here. So that, in this case, is going to be, ooh, that's terrible. T to Y right there. Okay. So if I'm going to try to figure out that one, I'm going to again redraw this. So I've got T and U, so let's say there's T. Whoa. I don't know what happened there. There's T, there's U, and then Y is right down here. Right? So now I've got this now, still a right angle. Now I've got this as a two-dimensional shape, which is going to help me out. So T to U is got to be 12, because that's what this is over here, so that's 12. U down to Y is going to be half of this whole side, which is 8, so that makes this 4. Okay, so to figure out what T to Y is, it's just going to again be A squared plus B squared equals C. So we plug stuff in, and we know that this TY, which is what we're looking for, is going to be the hypotenuse. So we have, say, 12 squared plus 4 squared equals TY squared, right? So that's 144 plus 16 equals TY squared. So that's C, that's 44, 54, 60, 160 equals TY squared. All right, so we want to square root those, and we'll get that side TY is, so we get square root of 160 gives us 12.649. So let's go with, I guess we got to go with 12.6. 12.6, and this is centimeters. Okay, and then for D, what we have there is we're looking for angle PYT. So P to Y back to T. So what we want to do now is draw this green triangle here. Okay, so let's start with P up here, T is down here, Y is over there. That's a right angle, so we want to find angle PYT. So that's this angle here. Okay, so let's see, this PT side here is 6, and we just figured out what TY was. That's 12.6. Right, so this side here is opposite. This side here is adjacent. So that's going to be tangent. Tangent theta equals opposite, which is 6, over adjacent, which is 12.6. So we will find that theta equals whatever second tangent. We're looking for an angle, so it's second tangent of 6 divided by 12.6, and that gives us 25.46. So let's go with 25.5 degrees. Okay, these answers are going to be off just a smidge from the back of the book. It's just because we've rounded off our answers, so our answer is going to be off just a little bit, but not very much. Shouldn't be off by more than a tenth or two, so we should be good on that. All right, let's move on to the next one, number 4. A, B, and B, C are wooden support struts on a crate. Find the total length of wood required to make the 2 struts. So A, B, and B, C. So we want to figure out what these 2 lengths are here. Okay, so let's figure out, say, what AB is. So we'll go A to B. We'll go down here. We'll make this triangle here. So we've got A, B, let's call this D down here just so we can label it, and there's D. We know that this is 30. We know that this angle here is 40. So we don't really care about this length here. We care about the AB length right here, right? So that is the hypotenuse, and we also have the adjacent. So hypotenuse and adjacent is going to be cosine. So what we want to do is do cosine of 40 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's going to be 30 over h. Okay, our variables in the denominator, so we switch these two and we get that the hypotenuse is going to be 30 divided by cosine of 40. Okay, so 30 divided by cosine 40 gives us 39.16, so we'll call that 39.2. Okay, so this here, write that in red, 39.2 for the AB length. Okay, so we want to keep that. And then let's do this in green just to be a little different. So now we want to figure out this triangle. We want to figure out this triangle here. So now we have, say, B is here, D is directly below it, and then C is out here. So that's a right angle. We know this is 35 degrees. This is the side we're looking for, which is the hypotenuse. And now here's the trouble. We don't know what this side is over here. We knew what this side over there was, but we don't know what this is. So what we are going to want to do is figure out what BD equals. If we can figure out what BD equals, then we can write it in there, and then we can figure out what the H is. So we're going to have to use this triangle over here again to figure out what BD is. So let's do that over here. Let's see, that is the opposite side. And we knew for sure that this is 30, so let's use opposite and adjacent. So that's tangent. So we'll do tangent of 40 equals x over 30, right? The numbers in the denominator, so multiply both sides by 30, and we'll get x equals whatever 30 tangent 40 is. So we do 30 tangent 40 gives us 25.2, we'll call it. Okay, so this is now 25.2, so this is 25.2. Now we can go through and figure out what that height is, right? Because this is the opposite, sorry, not the height, but the hypotenuse, and that's the hypotenuse. So opposite and hypotenuse is sine, so we'll do sine of 35 equals opposite, which is 25.2 divided by the hypotenuse. The variables in the denominator, so we'll switch those two. The hypotenuse is going to be 25.2 divided by sine of 35. Okay, so 25.2 divided by sine 35 gives us 43.9. And that's going to be what, centimeters? Just like this one over here is centimeters. Okay, so then this is 43.9. So then to figure out the total, we'll do 39.2 plus 43.9. And that gives us, not that. Add one there. Add one there. And that is 83.1 centimeters for the total length of wood that we need to make those two struts. Okay? Okay, moving on to the next one. All right, we got number 1. Find each of the following projections in the base planes of the given figures. So projection basically means like it's just, think of it as the shadow. So if there's a light shining directly down on top of this here, what's the shadow going to be? So for BF, if we draw this BF here, that's this line right here, and if you were to shine a light directly down like this, it's going to just, this side BF here is going to cast the shadow, which is FC. Okay, so that's going to be, it's not equal to FC, but the following projection for this one is just going to be BC. So BF will shine straight down onto, sorry, not BC, FC. Having a hard time. There we go, FC. Okay. AC is this line right here. And if, again, if you shine a light straight down on that, it's going to make the line, it would cast the shadow of DC. Okay? All right, and then if we did AF, here's A to F. If you were to shine a light directly down on top of that, it's just going to be DF would be that shadow. Okay, and then let's see, we've got BC. Sorry, BX. So B to X is going to be this here. So if you shine light straight down on that, that's just going to be X to C. And obviously these are all the same if you switch the two letters around. Okay. Let's see. Letter C here. We've got, if we shine the light on PC, this right here, if it goes, if you shine a light directly down on top of that, if you'll notice P, directly under P is M, so it's going to end up making this line right here, because it's just going to cast the shadow of MC. So PC, the shadow will be MC, and then for PN, that's this from here to here. If you were to cast that shadow, again, P goes right down to here. There's N already, so that's going to just cast the shadow of MN. So I guess in some ways it's easiest just to figure out what's directly, like gravity-wise, what's directly below it. Like if we're going to do BF again. So here's B and here's F. So directly below B is C. So it would be from C to F. So there's our CF or our FC. Okay? Okay. Let's see. M and N are the midpoints of QR and BC respectively. Draw a sketch of the triangle DMN. So let's see, DMN. So that's this here. So, and that's going to be our right angle right there. Draw a sketch of the triangle DMN showing which angle is the right angle. Okay, so we actually just kind of did that. For part B, find the length of D to N. So, you know, I'm just going to redraw this out here just to make this a little bit nicer looking. D, here's M, and then directly below M is N, right? And there's our right angle. Okay, so find the length of DN. So this is what we want to figure out. Okay, so let's see. We know that MN is going to be 4 centimeters. Let's see. What else do we know on here? We know that that's a right angle. So D to N. So if we're figuring out what D to N is, that's this line right here. Let's do this in red. Let's use this triangle right here. Right? So if we redraw that, here's D, goes straight across to C, and then if we were to look at it straight from the top, we'd go straight down to N. That is our right angle, and then we are looking for this length DN. Now we know that DC is 10, and C to N, let's see, it says that these are midpoints, so that's going to be exactly half of the 10, so that's going to be our 5. Alright, so that should make that a lot easier to find our DN, because that's just now going to be 10 squared plus 5 squared equals DN squared, right? A squared, B squared, C squared. So 100 plus 25 equals, DN squared. So that's 125 is DN squared. So we square root both sides to get that side. DN is whatever the square root of 125 is. So square root 125 gives us 11.18, so we'll call that 11.2 is what DN is. So 11.2 centimeters, okay, is what DN is. And then finally for part C, find the measure of angle DMN. So D to M to N. So, look, DMN, we already have the triangle written here. So if we're finding DMN, that's this angle right here. We know that MN is that. We just figured out that DN is 11.2, right? So if we want to figure out what that angle is there, this side here is the opposite. This side here is the adjacent. So opposite and adjacent is tangent. So we do tangent theta equals opposite, which is 11.2 over 4, right? So again, if we're looking for an angle, we'd want to do second tangent 11.2 divided by 4. 11.2 divided by 4. That's better. Gives us 70.34, so we'll call that 70.3. 70.3 degrees is the angle for DMN. Okay? Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one, number 5. Square base pyramid has height 10 centimeters and base lengths of 12 centimeters. So this here is 10 centimeters high, and then the base length, so these are all 12s all the way around here, and then this side over here is 12, and that back side there is 12. I'm not going to write it because it's going to mess up with the rest of that. Find the measure of angle ABT. So here's A in the middle, here's B, and then here's T. So let's redraw that. So here's T at the top. Drops straight down to A and goes over to B, right? So there's our right angle. We know that T to A is 10, and then let's see, this here from A to B, A is right in the middle of this square base here, so if this whole thing is 12, then half of that's going to be 6. So from A to B is 6, just like A to this other side would be the other 6 to make up the full 12. Okay? So we're trying to find the measure of angle ABT. So this is our angle that we're looking for. So from this angle, this is opposite, this is adjacent. So we're going to use tangent on that. Tangent theta equals opposite, which is 10, over adjacent, which is 6. Okay, so Bring out our calculator, and we're looking for an angle. So it's second tangent 10 divided by 6, and we get 59.03, so we'll call theta 59.0 degrees. Okay, so that's A. Let's do B in a different color to make it easier to understand. Draw a sketch of triangle AQT showing the right angle. A, Q, and T right there. So let's start with T up here at the top. Drop straight down to A, and then A goes over to Q, right? And then Q goes all the way back up to T up here. Okay, so there is our right angle for B. Okay, so there's AQT, and then I'm sure that's going to help us figure out what C is. So C is find the measure of angle AQT. AQT. So find this angle here. Okay, we know that AT already is 10. Let's see, do we know anything else? We don't know what, let's see, TQ is. But we could figure out what AQ is, excuse me, from if you look at this AQ right here is going to be half of SQ. So let's see. How about this? We could even use this little teeny triangle right here. Ooh, let's do that. That'll be easier. So if we look at this triangle right here, right? So we'll redraw that. Here's A, and then directly over is B, and directly below B is Q. And then we draw that back up there. So there's our right angle. ABQ is the right angle right there. We know that A to B is 6. B to Q is going to be half of the 12, so that is also 6. Right? So if we're finding the measure of angle AQT, let's see, we need to figure out what AQ is, so we need to figure out what this is. So we can do A squared plus B squared equals AQ squared. So 6 squared plus 6 squared equals AQ squared. So that's 36 plus 36 equals side AQ squared. So that's 72 equals AQ squared. So we square root both of those, and we get that side AQ is going to be equal to the square root of 72. So second square root 72, and we get 8.48, so we'll call that 8.5 is 8Q. So that's 8.5, right? So now that we have those two angles, those two sides, sorry, now we can find that angle. So this, from this angle, that's the opposite. This is the adjacent, right? So we would use tangent. Theta equals opposite, which is 10, over adjacent, which is 8.5, right? So to find that, we would have to use, we're finding an angle, so second tangent of 10 divided by 8.5 gives us 49.6. Okay, so AQT is going to be 49.6 degrees. Okay, last one, number 6. Let's see, M and N are both midpoints, so that's the middle of this, middle of that, of TU and PQ. Draw a sketch of triangle RMN. So R, so here's R to M to N. Okay, so there's our triangle showing which angle is the right angle. So let's redraw this. So here's M is at the top, and it goes straight down to N, and the N goes directly over to R, and then R connects diagonally back up to M. So there's our right angle for A, right? Now it says find the length of RN on here. So that's this here. Let's do this in red. So RN, this is what we were trying to find the length of. So let's do this. Let's use this triangle right here, because we know that that's our right angle. So let's redraw it. Here's R here. Goes straight down to Q, and then Q goes straight over to N, and N goes diagonally over to R. Okay, so there's our right angle. From R to Q is 10. From Q to N is half of 10, so that's our 5, right? So the length of R to N is going to be A squared plus B squared equals C squared, right? So we got 10 squared plus 5 squared is going to equal Rn squared. So that's 100 plus 25 equals, oh man, there we go, Rn squared. So that's 125 equals Rn squared. So we square root that 125, and we get that side Rn is going to equal second square root 125 gives us 11.18, so we'll call that 11.2. Okay, so side Rn is 11.2 centimeters. Okay, so that's B. And then C says find the measure of angle RMN. So here's our RMN triangle. So that is this angle that we're looking for, R to M to N. We just figured out that Rn is 11.2, and M to N here is going to have to be this 7 here, right? So again, sorry, this is part C. I guess we'll just redo it over here. So if we're looking for that angle there, this is opposite, this is adjacent. So opposite and adjacent is tangent. Tangent of theta equals opposite, which is 11.2, divided by the adjacent, which is 7, opposite over adjacent. Okay, so on our calculator, we're going to want to find the angle. So second tangent of 11.2 divided by 7, oh man, 11.2 divided by 7 gives us 57.99, so we'll call that 58 degrees. Theta equals 58 degrees. So that's angle RMN. Okay? All right, that's all there is. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask in class. Thanks.